most people may not think that life insurance is cheap, inexpensive at all. It may put a big dent in their wallet. But I'm here to show you a policy that I've had that I purchased just a couple of years ago in my early 30s. I was able to pay just this amount. Watch this. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another session of Banks Wants You to Know, your latest source for financial discipline and literacy. So I'm glad to finally be back before you all after taking off some time to just deal with the busyness of life. And I'm ready to keep the advice coming so that we all can thrive in our finances, especially as it comes to the end of the year. So September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. Ideally, this is a topic that I wanted to address at the beginning of the month to kind of have it soak in for y'all throughout the entirety of the month. But hey, better late than never, right? So basically, Life Insurance Awareness Month is exactly what it sounds like. It's an aim to bringing awareness of the importance of possessing a life insurance policy. Now, I get it. Life insurance can be hard and scary to really talk about. It's tough to think about when most of us are trying to stay afloat in the present, let alone staying afloat for the future. But addressing the life insurance stigma is highly necessary, especially in our community. And whether you feel it's not needed because you feel like you're healthy and you feel like you're going to live a long time, or you think it just doesn't fit into your financial picture at this time, or if you just simply think, hey, it's a bogus idea, why would I need it? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's time to take it seriously. And I can show you a couple of reasons why. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump into it. So let's be honest. Unfortunately, most of us, or really all of us, have probably either been in a situation or have heard of a situation about someone passing away and not having any or just having enough funds in a life insurance policy to handle funeral expenses. If the deceased left behind any debts, it then places the burden on the surviving family members to make an attempt to either pay the debts or sell off the assets they left behind to pay those debts. Speaking of that, most may not realize that businesses, creditors, and the like are still expecting their funds to be paid back, even in the event of a person no longer being here. The debts do not just disappear. Now, of course, we wish they would, but there are some creditors out there who may decide to stand on the moral ground and write off the remaining debts of a deceased person. Others, they're just not so as forgiving, especially in the case of an asset such as a home or a vehicle. Now, with those facts in mind, it is important to obtain a life insurance policy that will allow the people you love and who you love back, or who love you back, I should say, to take care of your affairs properly and professionally. Thankfully, there are a number of generous organizations that will provide assistance for funeral costs and for other costs that the person may have left behind. And there are generous people who will pitch in for something like a GoFundMe or any type of other fundraiser. But being prepared with your own life insurance policy will lessen the burden for all involved and will give yourself a peace of mind. Now that I've stressed the importance of life insurance to the best of my ability, let's talk about how it can affect your wallet. The great thing about that is it really doesn't put a strain on your finances at all. However, it is best to obtain life insurance as soon as possible because the younger you are, the cheaper it is. And might I add, the healthier you are as well, the cheaper it can be. Now, it reminds me of the days years ago. Let me know if you remember when our grandparents or your parents, depending on your generation, would purchase life insurance for not only themselves and their children, but also their grandchildren. And there are some people out here who are still keeping that tradition alive today, which is great. They understood that same principle of getting family members insured as soon as possible while it's still affordable. Now, buying policy can also depend on your health. If you're like a young person, I would say under 40, and you're healthy, then the quotes are inexpensive. and I'll show you how in just a moment. Another key element in these policies is whether you're a smoker or a non-smoker. Now, as you can imagine, since smoking could potentially decrease your life expectancy, your rate would likely increase compared to one of the same age or of comparable age who is a non-smoker. Now, there's plenty of other diseases and health roadblocks that are out there, as you would know, but for some reason, the insurance industry likes to focus on smoking. And I hope I'm gonna see if I can find a life insurance chart with rates depending on age and put that in the description box. But for now, I'm gonna show you the effect of life insurance on your budget potentially. Now, I'm going to show you how cheap life insurance can be. Now, back in 2022, I believe, my wife and I, we had purchased our own life insurance policies, and we pay for each other's. And we were in our early 30s. We were in our early 30s, non-smoking. Put life insurance payment here. Now I've done I have here your regular bill statement that I've been putting on most of my videos so far. I even gave myself a raise. I've been doing $1,500 every 2 weeks, which amounts to $3,000 a month. Gave myself a raise, bumped it up to $3,200 a month. So far, this adds up to $2,900, giving you a free money of $300. But if you're thinking that life insurance is gonna eat all of that up, you're mistaken. So I'm going to round it off. It was $12 of change, rounded off to $13. You can get a life insurance quote or a life insurance policy for as low as $13, or even lower than that, depending on your age and your health. For $13 a month. Like it's really easy. Now I'll go into the types of life insurance, because there is a type of policy that goes in that would, it would be a little bit more, but that amount wouldn't hurt your wallet either, because at the end of the day, it's just gonna be worth it just to pay just a few extra dollars to insure the rest of your life. And then I also wanted to mention, I'm noticing nowadays that you're at our jobs, they are offering life insurance. Not sure about the blue collar industry, but I'm hoping it's the case there as well. But they're offering life insurance. They're offering supplemental extra. You can purchase extra life insurance. I would recommend, go ahead and sign up for that. That's probably just maybe that same amount or even a little bit less out of pre-tax out of your check. So I would definitely recommend you to go for it, or even especially if you have young kids, it's going to be less than that due to their age, longer life expectancy. There's you probably see on commercials on TV or on social media about these various companies that offer life insurance. Check them out and compare quotes. And even for older people without life insurance, even older people without life insurance, it'll be worth it. It may be higher because just because of age and maybe pre-existing conditions, things like that. But it's definitely going to be worth paying the cost of whatever it would be just to ensure that your final expenses are paid, and there'll be a little less stress going into for the family, things like that. So think about Colonial Penn, various various ones that will help out. While life insurance can be for yourself initially, you can take it a step further and use it as a means to create an inheritance or generational wealth for your immediate family. If that's the goal, you'd be looking into a policy referred to as whole life, which covers the person for their entire life. Whole life is what I've mostly been referring to throughout this video, as it would provide a payout, which is also called a death benefit, once the company receives notification or proof that the insured has passed away. After funeral costs, the rest can be used to be given to the assigned beneficiaries, who will likely be surviving children or surviving spouse or surviving parents in some cases, who will pay towards the debts left behind, like a house, for example. Now, if the policy is large enough, or the payout from the policy is large enough, there may be enough to assign certain amounts for survivors to have, either to save in an account for later, like, especially for minors, or to have right away. Then there's the option that would insure someone for just a certain period of time, which is called term life. And it could be as short as 10 years or 5 years, or as long as 30 years. While whole life insurance would cost more, will be more of a premium due to the time length of coverage, which is, the rest of your life. Term life is more of an inexpensive option for most people. Now, if you pass away during the selected term, your survivors in this case, will get a payout. But if you live past that term, that set term that you've paid for, that you've purchased, then that policy ends, and then it can be used for paying off debt and other major expenses while you're living. Then you may have to purchase another term life policy if you choose to do that, or go with the whole life option. Then also, there are other types of life insurance, such as variable universal life insurance or indexed life insurance. And those types can be used for, like as an investment tool, and then it can multiply your earnings. And that can also set you and your family up for an inheritance or for generational wealth. But as with anything that's tied to the market, the rates and the earnings are volatile, which means things go up and down, rates go up and down, and money can be lost. So please do more research before committing to such a policy. As the month of September approaches its end, which also means the eventual end of Life Insurance Awareness Month, I hope you all were able to take something away from this video, whether it's the importance of having a policy, the urgency of having a policy, or how it doesn't cost much to obtain one, the types of policies, or really anything else. Just like the end of life, I agree that this topic is tough to talk about with your loved ones, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. If there's an older person in your family or in your circle who is not insured, it is vitally important for them to get insured soon, no matter what the cost is. None of us know when our time will be up, so it is time to prepare as soon as possible. Most life insurance applications or quotes, they're quick and easy, won't take much time at all. It reminds me, this may be kind of off topic, but I feel like it's still in topic. It reminds me of my cousin who's a faithful subscriber, thank you, telling others years ago to start writing your own obituary. Because in both instances, whether you're writing your own obituary or you're purchasing life insurance for, to protect yourself, protect your family, but in both instances, you have control over how things can go and how your legacy is solidified. And now, I'm going to move on to the verse of the session, which comes from Proverbs chapter 11, verse 7. NIV version says, "Hopes placed in mortals die with them. All the promise of their power comes to nothing." And I was just kind of going through and seeing what comparisons there are with that verse, and just wanted to also read the King James version of that verse, which says, "When a wicked man dieth, his expectation shall perish, and the hope of unjust men also perishes." Now, this verse not only makes me think about how we tend to really not think about preparing for our future or the end of life. But it also reminds me about how people, they just really do not take it seriously either. Things can change in the blink of an eye. As I mentioned earlier, I'm sure there are some of us that have been in a similar situation where they've seen something change in the blink of an eye, hearing about or even experiencing a loved one passing away unexpectedly. As I was trying to find the right verse and really just thinking on things, trying to study things, and just really incorporate this into this session today, I also thought about how Jesus says in Matthew 24, verse 36, that no one knows the day or the hour when he will return. Not even the angels, not even the Son, Jesus himself, but only God the Father. Only God the Father knows. Now this is a timely verse, especially if you heard of a certain rumor going around in the world, or in social media the past couple of weeks. But I digress. Then he goes on to talk about the example of years before he spoke of these words in the Bible about Noah's Ark, how God was telling Noah to select two of everything, two of certain people, two of certain organisms, animals, things like that, and the ones who weren't included in the ark, they're getting swept away. So neither one of those groups, they didn't know when their time was coming. They weren't listening to Noah. They probably weren't going by the will of God. They just weren't listening. So they didn't know when that their time was going to be up, or if they were abiding, that a big flood was going to come. But I bring those things up just because, just like how we don't know, when that day or the hour that Jesus Christ is coming back. It's just like in those instances in the Bible, we also don't know when God will call us home. It would be wise to at least plan for that time and make an attempt to at least to leave an inheritance for your immediate family. The amount of insurance that you decide on, that you purchase to cover yourself and your family, it could be large, it could be small, but it just has to be enough to cover most of your expenses. Now, I hope this message wasn't too morbid or too dark, but hey, difficult conversations have to be had. And I'm glad that you're here listening and learning. Now, two things can be true. God can do the impossible and provide for us in a tough situation if we don't have, enough funds to bury someone, or to, kind of have that service that they deserved after their life. But he also gives us wisdom that we can apply and use to make the right decisions and preparations, so that this be a right decision, a right preparation that you can do soon. And that concludes this session of Banks Wants You to Know for this week. Now, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in and just coming back and hanging out with me to learn about our finances. Now, if you found this video interesting or insightful, all the positive things, please tap that like button. Please subscribe to the channel for more tips, and share this video with someone you believe would benefit from this information. And tell them all about Banks Wants You to Know, where financial discipline equals financial success. And also, let's get into the comments. Tell me about your experience with purchasing life insurance, or what are your opinions and feelings about life insurance, and we can start some dialogue there. Thank you all again for tuning in, and class is dismissed.